Okay, today we are going to talk about what's probably the fastest growing segment of technology for everything, but particularly for AAC, and that is the use of tablets and other mobile devices. Have the smartphone function as a communication. Fully functional. As long as the person is able to have the right motor control for that small of a surface, it can be fully functional. So, anyway, it is revolutionizing the whole area of AAC. And unfortunately, for a long time, Apple was kind of slow to make adaptations and modifications in their platform to allow some of the more interactive types of programs to run, but they have gotten much, much better with that. I think part of the reason is Apple likes to maintain a fairly closed system, and for some of these applications, they've had to be willing to kind of work off of shared technology, which we don't always like to do. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, it's just that's how things have been. But they're opening up. But what's the potential market? Well, if we look at the numbers, they're staggering. They're between 2010 and the year after next, it's estimated that there's going to be close to 200 million tablet devices sold in the US. That's a statistic from 2012. My guess is that they probably revised that number up. But when you consider how many people live in the United States today, about 330 million. So if about 330 million people live in the United States, and in that time frame, we've sold roughly 200 million, that means like 2/3 of the population has access to a tablet type of really staggering. And the reason that I think that number is probably going to be revised up is that there were almost 55 million sold in 2011 alone. And now everyone's coming out with new products, and some are smaller, and some are cheaper. I just think that number is going to probably end up being higher. By the end of last year, they're estimating that 20% of the population have tablets. So, Apple continues to be the dominant player in tablet computers. They have about 60% of the market, although their competitors are doing some really effective advertising. I forget which one it is. I think it's the Windows device because it does have capability of accepting a USB or flash drive, and it is cheaper. And for a lot of people, that's how they make their decision. Apple products tend to be a little bit more expensive. People who purchase them typically are willing to do that because their feeling is that you get what you pay for. It's a better product. But I'm not sure that that's necessarily true any longer. And so, you look at the side-by-side comparison that they have in advertising, showing what the iPad can do versus what this new Windows tablet can do, and then you look at the price. I can understand why some people are second guessing. I had to spend about 2 hours when we were on vacation back in August justifying to my mother-in-law why my iPad would be a better buy for her than for her to get the Windows tablet. And I really said, you're not used to Apple platform, so it probably isn't a better choice for you. Probably need to stick with what you know.
As far as like programs and apps that we're concerned with, are they both compatible to the Windows 10 and
Typically, yes. Typically, the manufacturers are now able to produce versions of the applications that will run on either one. That will work on Android base or on Apple's iOS base. For a while, Apple was really reluctant to let some of those outside application manufacturers into their system. But I think they've seen the writing on the wall, and that is that, especially for assistive technology, there's a huge market, and it's only going to be getting bigger as we get better at keeping babies alive that are born with problems, and as the population ages, and wants and needs simple devices that if they don't do something to capture that market, that's where they're going to get left behind. So pretty much now, when I come across an app, I notice that it's available on each. But the takeaway message is this is a growing segment. It's only going to get bigger. I probably do 80 to 85% of my computing is done on my iPad at this point. And I was one of those people that said, I don't need some of those, but I want it on this. And I don't know what I would do. I'm actually on my second one. So anyway, big market. Compared to some of the traditional AAC devices that we've seen pictures of, some of those big honking computers that almost look like a suitcase, if you think back to the videos that we saw, I mean, some of them, their device was, almost as big as this top part of this projector. It costs anywhere from $8, $10, $12, $15,000 or more. When you look at a tablet that's going to cost anywhere from $300 to $500, and depending on what software you use, which some of it's free, some of them are free, up to the most expensive one I've seen is about $200. We're still looking at, even if you take the top end, less than $1,000, somewhere in the range of $800 to $700, versus the cheapest large-scale AAC device is going to be $1,000, and those are very basic and are not going to have a whole lot of functionality, particularly for more sophisticated users. Tablets are a lot more reasonable in cost. Okay? And they're pretty easy to use. When you can walk around, you can see 2-year-olds who are using tablets and smartphones. So, I mean, when you consider no training, they've just watched what other people have done and they figured it out. So, anyway, they're very compact and portable, relatively speaking, compared to some of these big honking devices. And the really cool thing that's really turning out to be a double-edged sword is that they are multi-purpose devices. If you have one of those big, dedicated AAC devices, that's all it does. It's a communication tool. But if you have a tablet or some other mobile device, it is multi-purpose. It can be their communication device, it can be their television, it can be their word processor, it can be their internet portal, it can be their storage, their information storage. So there's tons of other things that the tablets can do that make them potentially a more attractive option. The drawback is that a lot of insurance companies have been slow to adopt reimbursement for them for that very reason. Because they're used to paying for dedicated communication devices, and they are not in the business paying for someone to have a nice new toy. And that's still kind of the attitude. We found it to be very difficult to get insurance companies to approve payment for a tablet. We did an assessment on a kiddo last semester, and a tablet-based device is exactly what she needs. Her mom has loaded a lot of educational games and some sample communication apps on her smartphone. And the child's using them and playing with them and participating extremely well. Meanwhile, they have a dedicated AAC device that costed the insurance about $12,000 sitting in their closet collecting dust because the child is not interested in it. It's big, it's bulky, it's not very functional. So to me, my feeling is, so what if they can use it for other things? It's still going to cost you a heck of a lot less to pay for that than it is for one of these dedicated devices that more and more people are not wanting to use. So hopefully things will change, but anyway. So what's really cool is that you can, yes?
If you already own the tablet, can you get insurance to pay for the software potentially?
Sometimes they will. They're much more likely to do that than to actually buy the device. So Another cool thing is you can actually load more than one communication app on your mobile device so that you can try it and compare them, which is really kind of cool. What's also really cool is a lot of them have, even if they have a fee involved to purchase, most of them are coming out with free demo versions where you can actually load the free version of a couple of different ones, try them to see which one you like best, which one meets your needs best, and then you can actually purchase the full access app, which is really kind of nice. Whereas when we have some of our vendors coming in and showing us some of the different devices, you're locked into their program. If you buy a Dynavox device, you're locked into their language system, their symbol system, and you have minimal flexibility. Whereas with a tablet-based device, you can pick and choose, find the one that meets your needs the best. And if they change over time, just new app. And so anyway, so that makes it kind of neat, especially for during the assessment process. If you feel like a mobile device or tablet-based device is going to be appropriate, you can already have downstairs. We have several iPads. We can preload several different programs on them, try it and see which one's going to work the best, so it makes your assessment process a little bit easier too. One of the biggest areas of potential use is with children who are on the spectrum. There are a number of studies going on here in the U.S. and particularly in Canada. Canada seems to be kind of ahead of the curve in terms of developing educational systems for use on tablets and mobile devices. And they've had several ongoing studies looking at tablet devices with children who are on the spectrum. And they've had some really, really good results. And I think I have put in here a video that shows some kids that are involved in that study because it's pretty cool. Okay? In addition to tablets, talked about how smartphones can be used. And that shouldn't be a big surprise, particularly if you have an iPhone. Almost every app that you see, it asks you, except for iPhone or iPad. So just about anything that's available for one is going to be available for the other. So if you have a person who has pretty good fine motor control, you can take a visual acuity where they can handle that smaller screen. The smartphone may be the way to go. Again, most insurance carriers are not going to pay for a smartphone because in their view, its primary purpose is to be used as a phone, not a true mobile device. So anyway, let's just kind of take a show of hands. Who in here has a smartphone of some sort, as opposed to just a regular? Okay, probably like 90% of us. Almost everyone has. So again, this is a situation where the insurance company may not ask you, what kind of a device are you loading it on? So there'd be nothing to prevent you from loading it onto your smartphone as opposed to a tablet, if you've already got it. And because so many people do, that may be the way to get around it, but they're certainly not going to pay for a smartphone. Okay? So again, the same pros to it. They're nearly universal. Almost everyone has them. They're small and portable. They're multifunctional. You can everything you can do on an iPad, you can pretty much do on an iPhone. So again, relatively inexpensive. Mine was free. I was right. Actually, they came out with 3. We just got ours like back in January or February. So 4. It's working fine. And again, they're relatively easy to use, and you can run multiple applications. So it's basically just a smaller version. And now with the iPad Mini, you can have one that's kind of in between. It's not big, not that that's big, but it's not palm size either. It's kind of in between. So have your small, medium, and large. Sort of like upsize of the value. Oh, good, I did keep them. All right. So let's watch this interesting video. At least I thought it was interesting.
After Steve Jobs died last year, there was an outpouring of gratitude from his fans for the way his inventions, like the iPad, changed their lives. Among the most passionate are parents of children with severe forms of autism, especially those who can't speak and appear hopelessly locked inside themselves. Those
Okay, you know AAC has gone totally mainstream if it's on 60 Minutes. So.
parents often say these kids understand more and know more than they're able to communicate. Well, now, with the iPad and other tablet computers spreading through the autism community, some of those parents are finding out they were right. As we first reported last October, it turns out that autistic children show a real interest in the iPad with its easy touch and swipe screens. With specially designed applications or apps, these computers are helping them communicate and unlocking the isolation of people like 28-year-old Joshua Hood.
The story will continue in a moment.
Imagine spending your life having conversations like this. P, L, having to poke out words on a laminated piece of paper, one letter at a time. C, plastic. It was so frustrating for Josh, his mother Nancy says he would often give up and retreat into himself. At family gatherings, he was sidelined because no one understood him. At school, he sat passively in class, unable to participate. When Josh was feeling bad or really needed something, the family resorted to charades.
So you'd be like, you know, can you spell it? Can you show me? And so he would
act it out almost?
He would look around the room and he'd see if he could find something that sounded like it. Or
Just to tell you one little thing.
one thing that he wanted, yes.
How are you?
But not anymore.
I want a drink.
For the past year, Josh has been using an Apple iPad as his voice, and he is, well, he's reborn.
What are we going to eat today, Josh?
I want bagel bacon, please.
Now, when he goes to the local diner, he can order his breakfast himself. Josh's mom downloaded a special language app and added pictures, videos, and symbols that allow him to convey his feelings,
Happy.
what he wants,
Toys.
and what he watches on TV.
TV News 60 Minutes.
My first 60 Minutes interview on an iPad. I asked about his brother Jimmy. And how old is Jimmy?
Keyboard. Numbers. 2, 6. Jimmy 26.
So he's 1 year younger than you are. Is he your best friend? Does that mean you love him?
Yeah. Josh is typical of people with autism in that he rarely looks directly at me. He rocks, and he has obsessions. In his case, it's World War II.
Logan's Hero Season 6.
His therapist, Tammy Taylor, will never forget the first time she put the iPad into his hands. What had been bottled up inside him began to pour out.
it just blew me away that he could actually tell me his brother had a goatee and was bald.
He's completely communicating.
Absolutely. He's part of the community. I mean, communication is the essence of being human, and here he is communicating fully now.
Totally. The language app that Josh uses is called Proloquo to Go.
Josh's Spaces, my place of work.
But there are other apps created specifically for autistic people, like Autism Express, to help children identify emotions. And another called Look in My Eyes to practice eye contact.
How do you feel about being autistic? Show me on there.
The stars.
Memories, feelings, happy. Joshua, happy.
Tell me what's happening inside of you as your son starts to tell you what he's been thinking. He's probably been trying to tell you for 27 years.
Mind-boggling, to tell you the truth. I always had said when he was younger, it was like, you know, he was a computer and I was computer illiterate. And I didn't know how to press the right keys. Sorry. To get him to communicate. It was just, you know, that was the hard part, is you knew there was more in there and you didn't know how to get it out.
Touchscreen computers help Josh communicate. Can they do the same for these children at the Beverly School in Toronto, Canada, where half the students are severely autistic and more impaired than Josh? The day we were there, kindergarten teacher Sabrina Morey struggled to figure out why 7-year-old Nathan was so upset.
Students don't have a way to communicate with me. They don't have a way to tell me how they're feeling, what they want, what they need, what's happened to them before they've come to school.
It's frustrating for you. What about for them?
It can be very frustrating.
Oh, look, the iPad's here.
For the past year, Maury and her fellow teachers Ian Stewart and Stacy Carroll have been involved in the first study to find out just how effective the iPad is with their students.
Has the iPad made any difference?
This one has made a huge difference. There's something about using the iPad that draws the students in. They're engaged with it in a way that we don't see with other toys or puzzles or teaching tools.
The study has found that it improves the children's willingness to socialize, something autistic kids have trouble with, and it enhances their attention spans.
Can you look at the numbers, Jennifer?
In this video reported by the school, Stacy's trying to get little Jennifer to focus on learning to count, using the old paper method.
She's not paying attention right now.
She's not looking at it.
But what a difference with the iPad.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, it's wonderful. Look at her.
She's completely engrossed.
I hear that autistic children often prefer machines to having an interaction with a human being. Is that what we're seeing?
What we're thinking is that the device is constant. So the voice is constant, the pacing is constant, it waits, it might not wait as
You're
long.
unpredictable.
Right.
And they like order and control.
Awesome.
But the teachers are finding that, as with autism in general, there's a range of ability when it comes to benefiting from the iPad.
When he likes something, he lights up.
I sat down with Sabrina and Nathan.
Ready? Letters.
As I watched, he repeatedly ignored her requests,
You choose a letter.
and she stepped in again and again to guide his hand. I wondered just how much he was learning on the iPad.
Which letter would you like to look at? And sometimes I have to hold my hand over it, because otherwise he will just go in and out of programs.
What I found is that the device, the iPad, isn't for everyone. It's not for all my students, but the ones who are engaged by it, it's really, it's amazing. You want to do some work? You want to do some work? No?
It was thought that 10-year-old Nuno, who doesn't talk, had the IQ and attention span of toddler.
Touch the one that is a healthy snack.
It's a nice snack. That's nice.
Awesome.
So when Ian tested him with a new vocabulary app, he was surprised by how much he knew.
Where is the wind chime? Great job. Touch the soldier.
Did you know he knew all those words?
No, absolutely not.
You had no idea?
No idea. No idea he said his vocabulary.
Playing the saxophone. Yeah! You did it!
Saxophone. How do we know a saxophone, right?
And we've recently found out that he has quite a love of classical music and opera, so he's
He has love of opera,
yes, he does.
and you didn't know it.
Didn't know him.
Did that come through the iPad?
It came through exploring music selections on the iPad. As a reward, sometimes we let him watch some videos in class, some Pavarotti or some arias, and he likes conductors, he likes symphonies.
You're discovering that there's more inside these children's heads than you realized.
And that's something in a way I feel like we've known, but this is giving us a tool to really show us and prove that there is more happening.
Figuring out why so many autistic people are unable to speak, as many as 30% of them, is the subject of a major new research study at the University of Pittsburgh.
We don't have a biological marker for autism in most cases at the moment.
Neuroscientist Dr. Walter Schneider is investigating whether the language problems in autism are caused by a disruption in the brain's connected circuits.
What we're going to do now is the motor mapper.
He invited Temple Grandin, the renowned professor of animal science and author of 5 books on autism, to have her brain scanned as his first subject.
The noise is gonna start. You doing all right? Okay.
Grandin has Asperger's, a high-functioning form of autism, but she had trouble learning to speak.
My speech started coming in around, 3 and a half, a few stressed words at a time. Like I'd say, bah, for ball.
To analyze Grandin's brain, Schneider used a new technique he developed called high-definition fiber tracking that reveals the interior wiring in fine detail.
This is a normal brain.
This is a normal brain.
First, he showed us the fibers that make up the language circuit in a normal brain, a streamlined bundle with off-ramps at the top. But what about in a brain with autism like Temple Grandin's?
Are you going to show us Temple's brain?
Yes, we're going to show the inside of Temple's brain.
What I saw floored me.
What did you think when you saw that? That is Temple, that is that. That is that?
That is this section and how it projects out.
But that's dramatic.
That's dramatic.
Schneider thinks this dramatic disorganization of the wiring may explain the language impairments seen in autism, but he won't know for sure until he scans more people. He hopes, among other things, that one day a brain scan will be able to diagnose autism early and tell parents if their child will ever speak.
So he's affectionate.
He's very, very affectionate.
Meantime, parents like Amanda Williams, Nathan's mother, are latching onto the iPad, marveling at how the device is opening windows into their children's minds, even if the windows are open only a crack.
I can't express to you enough how amazing it is to watch him take his little finger and go like that in a controlled way. I think the thing that made us cry was when he flipped through it and then he saw the top go. And he went, oh, I gotta go back. And went boom. And he looked at us with a smile on his face and he's like, I did it.
And it's such a tiny little thing. And it's, for him, it's huge, right?
It's huge. It's huge.
Where do you see the iPad taking him? What's the next step and the next step?
We don't know what the future holds for him in terms of speech. We like to think and we still hope that one day speech will come in whatever form. But if it doesn't, and
This
it's
will
not
be his
perfect,
voice.
this will be his voice.
When you have joint pain and stiffness, accomplishing even little things
Okay.
are major difference. I'm Phil Mickelson, pro golfer.
What do you think about that? Pretty compelling, the impact that it can have, particularly for teachers. I mean, when you look at what they found out about some of these kids, who loves opera? Who would have guessed? I mean, would you just automatically think that, oh, this 6-year-old is a fan of opera? No. we know that children on the spectrum often have unusual obsessions or interests. Just getting them engaged, like with the little girl who was basically chewing and crumbling, the numbers lesson suddenly totally engaged. And I think part of it is, like they said, that a lot of times children on the spectrum are more interested in gadgets and objects than they are people. And yet they showed and talked about how they can use it as a tool to facilitate socialization. And they showed like the lesson, and they were looking at each other's pictures, and they were actually engaging. And then there was another session where the kids were playing, and they were actually, a group of them were playing, and they were looking at each other, and they were making eye contact. And that may not seem like a lot, but it's huge. And if you can get the kid to tune in, you're much more likely to be able to teach them something. So I think that particularly in an educational setting, the potential application of tablets and different mobile applications is huge. And just dropping a little bit, there's tons of money to be made, because if you can design and come up with an app that becomes used widespread because of its utility, you can make a lot of money. So if you're a gadgety person and you are somewhat technologically savvy, that may be something that you want to consider. A lot of these applications that we're going to be looking at or talking about were designed either by parents, which is very common because they get frustrated with what's out there and not working, so they decide that the old expression of think you can do it better, do it yourself. Well, they do, but a number of them, a surprising number of them, were also developed by clinicians. The one young man that Leslie was interviewing used a program called ProLoquo to Go. It's used a lot in educational settings, and there are some, it's very popular, it's expensive. I don't think it's the most user-friendly, personally, but it is a very good app, and we're going to watch the story of Rosie, who uses it. So here's a short 3-minute clip of Rosie.
She was very, very tiny when she was born. She only weighed 356 grams, so she would fit in the palms of my hands. And her hand just covered my little fingernail.
I first met Ruby 2 years ago when she started school, very much in her own bubble. She was the youngest premature baby in England. She was described to me as a very challenging case.
I want computer, please. Mrs. Holly Green.
Since Ruby has had the iPad, her behaviour has improved 95%. I would be getting hit 20, 30 times a day, where now I've worked all day today and she doesn't hit me at all. The iPad and the software is allowing her to unlock her communication and communicate with me. And on a daily basis, she absolutely amazes me.
It's your turn.
What we've just done for the first time is got Ruby and Sophie to share using My Turn. So they're learning to use the computer and share toys. Ruby's not very good at sharing currently at the moment. And 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago, she would turn around and poke the child.
She is so into technology. We've got iPhones and she just plays on those and works out how to do things. You know, she doesn't need a lot of guidance, and as soon as she was given the iPad, she was able to use it straight away.
There's her iPhone. She's her iPhone too.
Well, Casey's turn. Ruby's turn. Give it to Casey then.
Thank you.
For the first time today with the iPod Touch, she was able to show me that she could choose the child, recognise the child, and actually want to play with that child. And I've been with her 18 months and she's never been able to do that before without this equipment.
It's all there in her brain, and she can put the words together or the pictures and say what she wants, and that's what this does for her. It gives her a voice.
Purple flowers.
How many?
3.
It's made us aware that the knowledge was already inside her head. She was just unable to communicate it. With the iPad, the iPod Touch, and the software, she's now been able to be assessed by a classroom teacher and myself, and is on the national curriculum level.
Pretty amazing. You know, with her, hopefully it's a way to not only allow her to communicate, but it actually dramatically impacted her behavior. Gee, I wonder why. If she was pretty cognitively intact inside, but couldn't say what she wanted, I'd be a little pissed off too, and not the most pleasant person to be around. So it gave her an outlet to the point where she's now able to tell the teacher not only what she wants to do, but who she wants to do it with. So she's actually making social choices. Wow. How would you like it if you went through life and I, as your teacher, told you who you were going to socialize with and who you were going to do stuff with? You'd be pretty hacked off, and rightly so. So now she can make her own choices. Very, very impactful. I'm not trying to be melodramatic, but when you have worked with children on the spectrum over a number of years as I have, and I always say it is my least favorite type of patient to work with because I feel like they bring out every inadequacy in me as a therapist, because I just often feel utterly helpless as to what I can do to help them. I see their frustration, I'm frustrated, and now with this new technology that waves, because they get drawn in, and then it has opened, because unlike a lot of stuff that they use where they get so obsessed in it that the world stops all around them, it's actually, they're using it in a real world, active, interactive method. Not all of them. A lot of kids, yeah, they just did one. We saw, the one kid that he kept, the teacher had to keep directing him because he would otherwise just randomly go in and out of things. That's not the solution for me. But for other kids, for Rosie, or this is Josh, the young man, obviously that was a solution for them. Some of them do, so that way you can actually take your own pictures. So the ones that are picture based, they may come with loaded pixels like from BoardMaker, but you also can actually use and take your own pictures. And they showed the one where the teacher actually took the picture of the child, and then suddenly she was in the little box, which is really kind of cool, so that you can really personalize it. Because, like you mentioned last week, what happens when there's a huge transition, like when a kid moves from, the elementary school to the middle school. Well, with a program like that, you just take your neat picture and slide it right in. How cool is that? So, anyway, I feel like that one is a really good one. I've got a bunch of these loaded onto my iPad, but the computer has informed me that it doesn't like my version that I'm running, and without a download, it's not going to run it. So I was hoping to actually show you on my iPad, but they're not talking to each other. So we'll just go ahead and look at some of these. This is a really cool one, the talking picture board. Okay, so this one allows you to make simple picture communication boards and put them on the iPad. One is, where are the pictures not showing? There we go. Okay, so you can actually make some pretty cool picture boards, and they talk. So it's not just, so it will actually say the words. So they can actually put together and construct. For less than something off the dollar menu at McDonald's, you can have a very basic communication board. And it's not just picture pointing, it's auditory as well. So how cool is that? So it's one that you have for 99 cents, and it has a 4+ rating on a 5-point scale for people who use it. I always say, look at what people are saying about it. The comments are often very, very important. This thing has been liked on iTunes over 30 million times, and it's been downloaded over 8 million times. I think there are a few people using it. Now, maybe not all of them are continuing to use it, but it's pretty cool. So, but when you go on to the App Store and look it up, you can actually read some of the reviews. But I mean, it's more than 4 out of 5, so obviously it's getting pretty good user ratings.
I don't get a lot of the apps that are constantly. Do you just buy it at one time, or do you have to pay for it every month?
It's a one-time purchase. Now, some of them, if they do an upgrade or an update, you may have to, but most of them, once you pay, if they do upgrades, you typically, just like you'll get if you've got apps on your phone or whatever, and it will say, that you have so many updates, and then you just update them, and you get the same thing. I get them all the time from ones that are loaded online. But again, so this one's really cool, and what I like is it's real photographs. What I don't remember is if this is one that allows you to actually use your own photographs. I don't remember that about this one. That's why you guys are doing reviews of apps I'm talking about. So this may be one that someone wants to do, and I can find that out and demonstrate for us. But some of them do, and usually the more expensive they are, the more they allow you to do. So a 99-cent one, I'm thinking, a free or 99 cent, it probably get what you got. I could be wrong. But it's pretty cool, and the fact that it allows, that it uses voice as well. All right, so let's look at another line. Okay. Let's read it. Okay, so let's do the one that I really like. This one is pretty cool. It was developed by the dad who was frustrated with the quality of apps that he saw out there. Actual pictures, which is what I want. Okay, so this one is free. And there is a purchasable version that is more interactive. But again, it allows that it has some utilities. It has male voice, it has female voice. I believe it also has male child and female child voices to it, so you can customize it for the individual. This one does have preloaded pictures and some starter words in it, but you can customize them and you can actually use your own pictures. So it is very flexible in what you can do. So it works very similarly to the previous one, but it's much more customizable, and yet it is and it's due for an update. The most recent update was back in November of last year. So I am sure that there is one coming soon. And again, used on the iPhone or the iPad. Typically, if it says it's usable on the iPhone, it would be usable on the iPod Touch as well. But in any case, very cool in that it allows you to create your own albums to use. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think this dad, when you actually open it, there's a tutorial that walks you through it, and there's also the story behind how and why the dad tells his son's story, which is really kind of cool.
If you want to download it on both your phone and your iPad, will it be the same on both? Like, you know, you can download it on your phone and also on your iPad? Like, will they see the income?
Yeah, they sing.
Okay.
As long as your devices are set up so that, I got my iPhone much later than my iPad, and so there's actually a process, which I haven't bothered to go through. So like for the communication apps, I haven't transferred those over to my iPhone. I can. My son made sure that he did that with all the games, because he wants it on both, but he did that, and I was like, I don't have the patience or the time to do that. But yes, you should have them both. And typically, I'll look and I'll see, my phone, I'll say, you have 4 updates, and I'll open my iPad and say, you have 4 updates. And so as long as they're synced, then yes, you will. Which is really kind of nice, because that was the thing with our client that I told you about that we recently evaluated, that we're fighting with insurance to get them to tablet, because mom's like, because we can can load everything onto the phone as well, so that if we forget, or we forget to charge it, I've always got my phone, so no matter where we go, we'll always have free photos. So anyway, the Tap to Talk is really kind of cool. And like I said, it was made by, or developed by a dad of a kid with special needs. And I think his son, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say his son has autism and CP. He's very challenged. So that's a really cool one. The Alexicom is pretty cool. We'll take a look at that one. I have this one on my iPad as well, and you can create both, using pictures and words. So it's really kind of nice that, say you wanted to communicate something, but you were in public and you didn't necessarily want to broadcast it out. You have the option of this where it will just do the printouts without actually saying it, which is really kind of cool. So again, and I tried to pick the ones that I know. Again, got a 4+ user rating. So it just shows you some screenshots of what it looks like. Let's cook. I need some apples. I need some cinnamon. I want to color a picture. So what happens is, it's like you might have an I want page. So it's just like text. You have that I want, and then they can do color and picture. I want to color a picture. And so it will actually combine. You combine the pictures. It will then say the phrase, or you can put in customized meanings.
I've already said this. What's the most expensive one? What's the most expensive one?
At the time that I was putting together slides, the most expensive one that I saw was $200. Why don't we go to the iTunes, to the App Store, and let's see.
Why would it be $200?
I'm sorry, why would?
Why would it be $200? Like, what makes that one so expensive?
People know they can charge that. Why is it going to take everything? I'll look into it. But usually it's versatility. It allows you to drop and drag. It may actually a lot more customization. But some of them have a male voice or a female voice, but it sounds really computerized. Others, it's a male voice or it's a female voice, and it sounds very natural. And some of them it's kid, and some of them have kid voices. So the more flexible and options you have, typically, the more likely it is that there's going to be a fee, and the higher that fee is going to be. It's sort of like buying a car. The more options that you put on it, the more expensive it tends to be. So, but this one is actually pretty cool. I had a couple of students who have reviewed this one, and that's basically what you're going to have to do is go to the iTunes store, to the Apple store, and if you put in communication, it's going to come up with tons. And I don't want you, when you're doing that assignment, I don't want you to feel like you necessarily have to just do ones that are communication devices. Some of them are really good educational training tools. So for you, you may want to find an app that you could use to teach a math lesson or a vocabulary lesson or whatever the case may be. That's perfectly okay. So I don't want you guys to feel like you have to do device app. Because honestly, there's only so many of them out there. And with this number of people, we're going to end up with 3 or 4 people doing the same one. So get creative, find let's look back because I can look at the credits, and I think it's the one that's like 200.
It's 189.
Huh?
It's 189.99. I was just looking at it.
Okay. Yeah. So, but again, relatively speaking, I mean, you saw how, I mean, there were several steps, but, you know, Josh was able to put together complete sentences kind of spontaneously. I want eggs and bacon, you know, 60 minutes, CBS, you know. Yeah, he could, and when they get familiar with it, they get pretty fast. I mean, it's sort of like if you watch someone who's like a speed texter, you know, I'm surprised that they haven't like burned a hole in their thumbs. You know, when I watch my niece, it's like, Lord, you know, she can, you know, write a chapter and, you know, for a novel in under 2 minutes, as fast as she types. So, so again, this is one that obviously, because they can string together sentences, and it also has it has different voice options featuring natural sounding voices, so it has multiple voices. So not only does it have male and female, it has multiple, so you can actually go through and pick the one you like. Ooh, I like this one. You know, whatever. So that's really where a lot of the price differentials come in. So let's take a look at another one. Remembering which one this one was. Okay, yeah, so this is what I thought. This is the one that was developed by a group of SLPs. And it's got a really good rating. And the way that it works is that they can give you speech generation, which not all of them do, it's just, you know, the picture pointing, designed for autism, Asperger's, aphasia, praxia in particular. So they obviously wrote this state of the art, but it is. We had a demo of the actual app that one of the students did, and it was pretty cool. So this may be one that they were able to get. They wrote to both the developers and told them that it was for class presentation, so they gave them a window of access to it for free. So it's basically allowing them to do their presentation and then shut them. And some of them are willing to do that. So if you find one and there's a fee, you can find who the developer is and you tell them what you're doing. A lot of times they'll either give you free access to it or they'll give you access. Don't be $49.99 on an app, unless you're really convinced that you're going to be using it and it's going to be a forever therapy tool for you, then that's fine. But I don't want you to feel like you have to go out and spend lots of money to do the app assignment piece. You get the idea. You can go to the different. You can go to the different sites for Google Play or whatever it is that is your preferred method, and download. My Talk Tools is another one. This is another one that was created by a parent because he was very frustrated also with what they have. And let's do the demo. So here's the overview.
This is MyTalk. There are two parts to MyTalk: the MyTalk mobile app and the MyTalk workspace. Grids called boards hold images and play sounds when you touch a cell. You decide on the content. categorize common phrases and everyday items, or make sequences that form complete sentences. For now, listen to this simple example.
Snack time. Cookie.
The fastest way to make boards is the MyTalk workspace. After creating an account, you'll log into MyTalk workspace to set up MyTalk Mobile. How can we have a cookie with no milk? Simply add a new cell to this board, drag over the image you want, and name it. Add whatever sound you want as well. You can also edit directly in MyTalk Mobile and add images and recordings if your device has a camera and microphone. After you've synced MyTalk Mobile with the workspace, the next time you want to ask for a cookie, you can ask for milk too.
Milk.
MyTalk Mobile makes it easy to say what you want, how you want.
Okay, so what's really cool about this is that you can actually do your programming and construction on the mobile device. But if you're like me, or you tend to have big clumsy fingers that I'm correcting my texts as often as I'm actually sending, and even then, autocorrect has bitten me in the ass, and so it still doesn't say what I wanted it to say. It's nice because you can actually do the construction of your boards on a PC or on a laptop or whatever, and then sync it to the mobile device, to the tablet or to the phone, and for me that definitely worked real quickly. So it actually has two components. So it's pretty cool. And there are a lot of them out there. So just be aware that there are lots of potential options. Let's look. I will draw your attention to this. We're not going to listen to it because it's really lengthy. It's like 40 minutes long. But Diane Reed, she's a syndicated talk show host, radio talk show host out of DC. She has phasmodic phone. So it's interesting to listen to her. She always has really interesting topics that range from politics to entertainment to you name it. But she works with some pathologists and typically needs Botox treatments about 3 times a year. And I don't get a chance to listen to her every day because of just when she's on, but it's always interesting. I can always tell where we are in her cycle. Did she just have an injection and she's just gotten done with working with her speech pathologist, or are we getting really close to it's time to go back? But in any case, she did an entire show on the pros, the cons, the ins and outs of young children and touchscreen devices like the iPad. And they did have some discussion similar to what we've had, but they also talked about some of the drawbacks and some of the limits and caveats. So if you have some time to burn, it's really a worthwhile listen. Plus, if you've never heard Diane before, it's a really good chance to hear someone who speaks for a living and has a lot to say. So, and her show's on, if you're ever interested, it's on MED 8.5 at 10 and 11 in the morning. Fridays is always all politics. The 10 o'clock hour is domestic and the 11 o'clock hour is international. So if you don't want to get into the politics stuff, just don't listen on Fridays. Throughout the week, it's other shows. You can use these devices to adapt your reading materials. So if you're working on literacy, there are talking books. There's adaptive reading, where you can actually take and create your own stories, or there are hybrid activities where you can do combination of reading and instruction and games and worksheets and stuff. So it works really, really well. It's been a boom for there is a really good resource here if you are ever interested in creating a talking book. It's out of SUNY Buffalo, and they have a really nice tutorial that walks you through how you can create a talking book using PowerPoint. So you don't even need to buy any special software. If you have access to PowerPoint, you can actually create your own talking books. And I had some students who were one of their projects last year actually did that. And they kind of collaboratively worked on it together and created a talking book. Actually, there were several groups. One did Brown Bear, that, and another group did 300 Caterpillar. What's another one? There were like 3 or 4 of them. Oh, what's the one about? Yes, that was one of them. So anyway, just know that this technology is out there and it's really changing how we teach children, how we can assess children. You know, we saw the teachers in Canada, and one teacher guy said, you know, he was actually able to give a vocabulary test, and this kid knew so many words that he had no idea. He thought he was functioning like a toddler, when in reality it was looking like he probably had a vocabulary at least age appropriate, if not beyond. I mean, how many 4 or 5-year-olds know saxophone and rhythm chimes and things like that. So just be aware that it is a tool. It's not the be-all end-all. It can foster socialization and inclusion. You know, we saw a couple of examples where the kiddos were like in a circle time or something, Rosie, and she was actually on the floor with the kids, and she was responding and using. So it's really a tool for opening up the world for kids that previously we didn't even know for sure if they were getting it, let alone having a way to then communicate with friends. Questions? I'm sold on it. Obviously, my bias is showing, but for truth in advertising, I'll tell you my bias. I think that these devices are a good thing. I really think that when used properly with the right group of children and put in proper context, I'm sold that it can be an invaluable tool. Otherwise, I would have thought my grant that got us like 6 of them downstairs. We got this technology grant at the university, and it was money very well spent. Our students are taking as right advantage of them as they could, because as often as not when I walk at Cheryl's office, only 1, maybe 2 are checked out, and the majority of them are there, but so we got this class where I was touting and pushing them. So if you're paired up with a graduate clinician, you know, especially as you start looking at some of the different mobile apps for your assignment,